Join in on the fun and grab your glue gun. It's the Preppy Crafty Girl Show.
Everyone, welcome to my studio. Today I thought it'd be fun to invite you into my little creative world and give you a full tour of my craft room, the place where I make junk journals, organize vintage treasures, film videos, and dream up all kinds of new projects. One of my favorite things about this space isn't actually inside the room at all, but it's this view. Every day I get to sit at my desk and look out through these beautiful doors at the lake, watching the seasons change, seeing the birds, and being surrounded by nature is such an important part of my creative process. It instantly makes the room feel more peaceful and inspiring. This is my main workspace where I spend most of my time. One of the things I wanted most when designing this space was to create a room that felt inspiring from the moment you walked in. I have two desks set up back to back, and this arrangement has been such a game changer for the way I create. The desk serves as my drop station and mixed media workspace. This is where I give myself permission to make a mess, paint, glue, inks, texture paste, paper scraps, all of the fun creative chaos that happens right here. Then, because I have a separate workspace right behind it, I can keep another desk clean, ready to go for filming videos, editing projects, and working on my junk journals without constantly having to clean up one project before another. Having designated spaces has really helped my creative process because I can easily move between messy creating and detailed work without interrupting my flow. Another thing I love about this setup is that it's perfect for crafting with a friend. I can easily have someone over and we both have plenty of room to spread out, create, chat, and spend an afternoon making something together. I like to keep my everyday tools within reach because I've learned that an organized workspace helps me stay creative instead of searching for supplies. I try to organize things by category: vintage papers, fabrics, ribbons, ephemera, stamps, trims, and all those tiny bits and pieces that eventually find their way into my journals. But let's be honest, no craft room stays perfectly organized for long. I love carts, merely just because I can roll them around my room, keep everything within my arm's reach. This one houses little journaling spots and vintage ephemera, and the one next to it houses all my mixed media like paints, watercolors, crayons, markers that don't fit on the other wall. And I also keep my vintage typewriter, my small die cut machine, and my sewing machine within easy reach of my desk. I love having these pieces out instead of them being tucked away. I also like that these carts create a little creative station throughout the room. Instead of having one giant storage area, everything has its own home and its own purpose. Know me at all, you know I have a slight obsession with anything from the 60s and 70s, especially wood grain office supplies. I've been collecting them for years. Down here is an adorable yellow wastebasket. If anyone happens to come across a vintage wood grain trash can, please let me know because I've been hunting one forever. But until then, this cheerful little yellow one is going to stay put because every time I see it, it makes me smile. Behind my desk, flanking the credenza, are two IKEA bookcases that provide a lot of storage and display space. Top, I have a few assemblage that I have made that represent my parents and my relationship with them. I also have ledgers and books and things that I pull from, and I love these little clear plastic containers that I have little Hallmark books in front of vintage fabric. I love clear jars. Don't you just love those wood grain ones that house all of my antique book stamps? And then I love the Kugis brand that IKEA makes. Yes, it's not clear storage, but I label everything using my Cricut. And here is the label on the inside so you can see what the box is. An old school pull down map found at a flea market during my travels hangs here, and I absolutely love it. Over here is a window that I desperately need to find some fun fabric for because these temporary paper blinds have definitely overstayed their welcome. And can we talk about this wood grain filing cabinet? I love this thing so much. I honestly wish I could find another one because it's fabulous and holds an incredible amount. One thing I've learned about myself over the years is that I'm definitely a flipper and not a stacker when it comes to organizing. If I can't see it, I forget it exists. I've really tried to set systems in place that work with the way my brain works, and you'll see more of that when I show you what's behind those giant closet doors in a little bit. But first, let's get on with the tour. Down on the floor is a bin that houses all of my scraps, organized into bags by type. But honestly, I need to go through it, purge some things, and file away what I want to keep. I really don't like things sitting on the floor because, to me, it creates visual clutter. I struggle with staying focused, so I try to keep my immediate field of vision organized and clutter-free. My inspiration happens when I look up. That's why I have shelves above the doors and windows all around the room. They hold collections of fun childhood memories that I've gathered through decades of thrifting, and some pieces are actually from my own childhood. Behind my desk is this credenza, and it houses my own journals and journals that have been gifted to me. It also houses my brother's Scan and Cut, and sitting on top is my printer, my Cricut, and of course, my beloved copy of the Preppy Handbook from my teen years. To the right is another Billy bookcase. This one houses books and magazines that I love pulling inspiration from. There's also a wooden crate filled with antique vintage office stamps. And on this shelf, I've pulled some pieces from my milk glass collection to create what I call my candy counter of vintage goodness. I know you're all waiting to see what's behind those big closet doors, and we'll get there in just a minute. But I can tell you, I keep an assortment of supplies that I can easily pull from when I'm creating. Now, this is definitely not all my supplies. I actually have a room above the garage that I affectionately call the mercantile. It's lined with shelves and bookcases that house so much more, and maybe one day I'll give you a tour of that space too. I've been crafting since I was 5 years old, and I've been collecting and making things for decades. These supplies are not something I just started gathering. I've had an Etsy shop for 15 years, and filling it with handmade journals, vintage finds, and creative treasures requires a lot of storage. I created a section for my color-coded writing utensils, and hanging above it is one of my favorite things in the room, a mirrored disco ball from the 1980s. I bought it at an auction because it once hung in a nightclub in Tampa where I sang when I was just 19 years old. I love having little pieces of my story scattered throughout this room. I have a roll of old butcher twine and a cart filled with drawers that hold sewing supplies and a few upcoming projects. On top of it sits my die cut machine. I've discovered that I use it so much more when it's out, plugged in, visible, and ready to go. I love collecting is old yardsticks. I've picked up so many over the years that I decided to face these plain white shelves with them. It adds so much character and lets me display another collection that makes me smile. Now let's finally talk about this closet. Can I tell you how much I love adjustable shelving? This closet's 14 feet long, and I have 12-foot high ceilings in the closet. And the deep insets on either side hold shelves that perfectly fit 12 by 12 boxes stored on their sides so I can easily pull them out. These boxes hold kits I'm currently working on, collections of paper, and ephemera. I used to keep all of my future kit themes in big Sterilite bins right here on the floor. But now those are stored covered on shelving out in the garage. Moving them out there has made such a difference. That way, every time I open the closet doors, I'm not overwhelmed by all the projects I want to do. Instead, I can enjoy the projects I'm currently working on while still having easy access to future themes. Whenever I find something while out thrifting, I can simply add it to the appropriate collection without having all these possibilities staring at me in the face every single day. And honestly, that little change has made this room feel so much more peaceful and creative. I only left space here for this rolling cart that I painted to match the rest of the furniture in the room. It houses whatever project I'm currently working on, like these birthday journals, and I absolutely love this system because I can easily pull a card out when an inspiration strikes and roll it right back out of sight when I'm finished. That way I don't have to look at project clutter all the time. I also store some, but not definitely all of my rolls of paper on their sides, so they're easy to pull out when I need them. I found that over the years that things are standing upright or stacked, I simply won't use them. It might seem unusual, but it works really well for me and makes everything easy to access. Upper shelves hold a few bins of trinkets, but honestly, most of my collections and my fabric live upstairs. Over the years, I've learned that just because I own something doesn't mean it has to be visible all at once. I like rotating things in and out and allowing myself room to breathe creatively. I've discovered that creating isn't really about having every supply within arm's reach. It's about having enough around you to inspire you without overwhelming you. And after many years of trial and error, I finally feel like I've found balance that works for me. This room isn't perfect and it's always evolving, but it's truly in a place that feels like me. Things get moved around, collections change, and I'm constantly refining systems to better support the way I create. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, is that there's no one right way to organize. The best craft room is one that works for you, your creativity, and the way your brain functions. Some people thrive surrounded by abundance, while others need a calmer environment. I've spent decades figuring out what inspires me and what overwhelms me, and this room is a reflection of that journey. I hope you've enjoyed this little peek into my creative world and maybe found an idea or two that you can use in your own space. Thank you so much for coming along on the tour, and remember, beautiful spaces don't happen overnight. They're collected, curated, and loved over time, just like the art that we create in them. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to hype it or leave a comment and tell me what your favorite part of your own craft space is. And I'll see you in the next creative adventure. Bye, guys.